Hey everybody, it's Nolan Gobea here, or Professor G to my students. Let's talk about savings accounts. Savings accounts are straight up boring compared to anything else that you could be putting your money into, but they do serve a purpose and they are necessary. I'm going to tell you guys about the best ones that I've found and how you should be using these savings accounts, which is probably much different than what your parents or grandparents have told you thus far. Yeah, I'm talking to you, Sharon. Times are a-changin'. With inflation going crazy and a certain illness wreaking havoc on the economy, it's more important that you understand how to use these accounts rather than just which one is the best. But let's start with the best high-yield savings accounts that I have found. What we're going to want to do is go to nerdwallet.com and look up the best high-yield savings accounts. So as you can see here, we have some high yield savings accounts. Right now they're at 0.5%, 0.4%. This is about the high right now, which is not very high, but it's better than what you're getting at your regular bank account, which might be something like 0.01. So if we look at this one, since it's just at the top, so the minimum to open is $0. The annual percentage yield, like I said, is 0.5. There's no monthly service fees. Those are all very important. And as you can see here, again, it's not making a crazy amount of money. Like if you had $10,000 to put in within 1 year, you will have made $50. If you hold it in there for 10 years, you'll make a little over $500. Nothing crazy, but again, it's bigger and better than what you're getting at your regular savings account. So now when looking around for these high yield savings accounts, honestly, there hasn't been a lot of difference between the different ones. I like to take NerdWallet's research and just kind of look a little bit deeper into that. Now down here, you can kind of see where they get their little ratings from. You can look at the details of exactly what it is and the reason why that they give them a 5 versus a 4.5 here. But as you can see, what we really care about is this interest that you're going to earn per year. So here's a bunch of good ones. You guys can look through these to see if any of them are something that you want to do. I really like Ally, and they're very competitive. They have that 0.5% yield, just like the rest of the ones that we saw over on NerdWallet. As you can see, the annual percentage yield comparatively is pretty low. Bunch of different high yield savings account giving about the same amount. It looks like 0.5% right now is the best that you're going to find, which is still pretty low, but it's good to know what the offers are out there. Now, in a high yield savings account, the rates are variable, which means that 1 month it might be at 0.5, 1 month might be at 1%. It really just depends on a lot of different things. Right now, the rates are at the very, very lowest that they'll probably be, and so you're not getting a lot on your money in these accounts today. But back in 2018, 2019, it was up like 2.5%, which is pretty high, remembering that Chase or Bank of America's regular savings account gives you 0.01%. The issue here though is that even though 2.5% would be great, it's still not even keeping up with the crazy amount of inflation that's been happening. Like this last month, it was at 6%. You still would have lost purchasing power having it in a high yield savings account. So like I said earlier in this video, there is a time and a place for these types of savings accounts. Number one would be liquidity. If you need that money and you need it relatively soon and you need to be able to have access to it, then you do need to have it into a savings account rather than in an investment such as buying a house or even in the stock market where things could happen.
I'm not liquid, John. I'm not liquid.
The other reason why you'd want to have money in a savings account rather than in an investment would be safety. Now, while index funds or something like this is a safe form of investing, there's still a chance that it could go down. While having money in a high yield savings account, the money won't go down technically, it just won't go up very high either. Now, for example, index funds usually bring something like 6 to 10% appreciation per year on average, but every once in a while they could drop like 20% or something in the year that you may need to take that money out. And so if you do need to take that money out and it's dropped 20%, you'll have to sell your shares of that index fund and you will have lost 20% of your money, and that's no good. So a high yield savings account is just basically a savings account that's a little bit supercharged. It's one that's going to make it so that you get a little bit more than if you just put it into your regular savings account. It's not really an investment per se, and I wouldn't even put it into the investment category. The only type of money that I ever would put into a high yield savings account would be something like an emergency fund or something that you may need that money for in the next year or two. And so for those of you that follow along and that subscribe to my channel, you know that my emergency fund is something between 3 months and 6 months of your personal expenses. So whatever you or your family spends in 1 month just to be alive, including mortgage or groceries or your car payments, student loan payments, all of these things put together, add that all up for a month, multiply that by 3 to 6 months, and that'll be your emergency fund, just in case you lose your job or something crazy happens. That would be a good place to put that type of money, because if you were to need an emergency fund, you'd need to use it right away and you need to be able to pull that money out, and so you wouldn't want it tied up in the stock market or some other type of investment. So start building up that emergency fund so that you have a nice safety net. Put it into a nice high yield savings account, which right now is pretty low at 0.5%, but it should rise because the Fed has talked about increasing those interest rates pretty soon in this next year. But remember that we want to put more of our money into other investments once you have that emergency fund set, because we always want to be beating inflation. And if you want to learn more about that, here's a video on this now.